Call this CUB Board of Directors meeting to order. Move to approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving to approval of vouchers. Do I hear a motion to approve the vouchers?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. On to approval of monthly reports for August.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna preempt Dudley just a little bit because it's not good news. We had a $528,000 loss, net income loss in electric, and that Dudley will tell you more about, but welcome to now we're paying for the storm damage that hit us, and this is really what that is. And it has obviously been devastating for us. But now, Dudley, that way I always will hand off to you in a more positive way.
Thank you. If you remember, last month I warned you about this. We had 3 storms, major storms, and really storms all month in July, and we put them in a work order, and we were hoping to capitalize on some of that, and we did about $75,000 of it. But the other $600,000+ we had to expense. We couldn't justify. So if you combine that with the fact that our revenue margin was down because our load factor was down, and we ended up with a loss for the month. So it's not a surprise to me, and like I said, last month I told you that 592 don't celebrate yet. So we're back to reality on what storms cost, and that's why you have to. You can't get down to no cash. You've got to be prepared to cover these bills. Next month, we're going to have 3 payrolls, so I'll warn you about that. So don't expect a big number next month either. Now, on the contrary, the water department did real well. It made $44,900. So Jones is happy about that, and we're all happy about that. And they're ahead of the forecast. Luckily, the storms didn't impact his department like it did the electric department. And that's all I've got, unless you got any specific questions you'd like to ask.
Is there any of that reimbursable at all from the government, we think, or?
Now, the way FEMA works, you have to have so much damage statewide first before they'll even consider it, and then they get into the county level. That storm just sat over our system, basically. It didn't impact enough around us for it to be.
So the elected officials gonna be able to help us out any on maybe asking the state for any assistance?
They're minimized on what they can do, absolutely minimized when they talk about federal money.
Yeah. It's funny how some storms will blow through, and because it impacts the whole state, we might have $100,000 worth of damage, and it be reimbursable through FEMA because it impacted the whole state. But the fact that it just impacted Clinton mainly, we're just out of luck.
Any other discussion? Do I hear a motion to approve the monthly reports?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Motion carries. Project status reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're tracking 3 work orders in the electric department. 2 of them now we're at 100% complete. Really, one we're slightly ahead of the schedule, and the other it's going well, and we should be completed on schedule. We've talked about these when you approve the work orders. And Todd, did I miss? Is there anything specific you want to say?
No, sir.
On any of that? Unless there's a question about this, that's really all I have.
Moving to approval of purchase orders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a purchase order for your consideration. It's on a ductile iron pole, and it's for $66,840. We recommend Border State as the low bid and best bid. These are for 50-foot Class 1 ductile iron poles.
Do I hear a motion to approve? So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. On to approval of work order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got one work order, 1428, in the electric department. This is for a 3-and-aught ACSR feeder upgrade on Glen Avenue. We originally estimated in the capital budget for $290,000, and after our final engineering estimate, which also includes a 10% contingency, we've moved that up to $293,700, and we recommend the board approval for work order 1428.
Do I hear a motion to approve? There's a motion, to hear a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. On to approval of substation maintenance and testing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had looked out and got bids on doing some testing that really, this is inside of our substations, our power transformers, breakers, and other related substation equipment. 66 individual pieces of equipment that we want a third party to come in and test for us. And what we did, and as we do before, and I give Todd all of the appropriate credit for this, he does the bid by individual items so he can cherry pick. And that's essentially what he did. I think one of the bidders balked on that and said they wanted it all or nothing. And then Todd says, well, great, that's nothing. And then they backed up and said, well, maybe that's not quite the case. And by doing that and cherry picking, and we're recommending that is split between Southwest and Service Electric, and that saved us $10,350. And I recommend that the board approve the substation maintenance bid in the amount of $63,325.
Do you hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 10.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should have received, and I know that I emailed you, so you wouldn't be overwhelmed, a copy of the cooperative agreement between the CUB and Aspire Foundation. This has been, and again, I need to say right up front, where both Greg Jones and Dudley and I made contributions to this. Todd was absolutely the quarterback, and Todd took this across the end zone for us. So, I mean, hours and hours and hours and hours back and forth in order to get an agreement that we felt protected the ratepayers like it should, was comprehensive enough to include all the contingencies associated with it, and it mirrored a lot of what the TVA contract for use of their property, and that was really helped us out with the foundation because they had to sign one of those with TVA, and they saw a lot of the same language in what we had. But we're down to this right now. The only thing hanging out is we understand that they're going to do a sidewalk bike trail, something off cross by the road, and that may affect a couple of our poles. We don't know how that's going to affect this agreement. So what I'm asking the board to do this evening is to authorize me to execute this agreement. And what I'm going to do is we're meeting with the state next week, and we're going to make sure that there's no overlapping problems between the foundation and us being able to accommodate what the state needs on this side of the railroad. We might need stub poles on the other side. So if the board would agree to that, and we'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have on this agreement, but I think it protects CUB. It also provides the foundation what they want in terms of the ability to build this overlook. The big thing was the tank, up by the tank. They're talking about participating in the painting, and we're not opposed to that, to have which is a color that we agree on or a scheme that we agree on, and their portion of that will be whatever the difference is of what it would cost us and what it would cost different because of whatever paint they want to use. And we're abandoning one of our access roads, and they're rebuilding another one to our specs. So it all works out. I think we give them what they want, and it protects us also.
Do you hear a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Do you hear a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Other business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of things. I'd like to start out with, we were happy to say that through the Courier, through their readers poll, once again, CUB was voted best utility company. And we take that with a grain of salt because as far as we know, every utility company that serves everyone in Anderson County, I would consider giving some kind of an award to. Everybody would get a trophy if it was up to me. So we appreciate that, though. We appreciate those readers that cared enough to vote for that. Tim West, who is our certified arborist here at CUB, he took Greg McAnally's place, you may remember. He is our right-of-way coordinator. We participated in the Clinton Arbor Day celebration on October the 6th, and we donated and planted a tree during that celebration. So I wanted you to be aware of our participation in Clinton's Arbor Day celebration. This past Monday, for your information, WATE highlighted what I consider are the potential pearls of homeowners face with solar power companies. If you want to look up the report, it's worth reading. It highlights the traps that some of our folks are facing, and I think we're eventually going to have to help get involved in that in order to protect our ratepayers. The citizens are on the hook for thousands, tens and thousands of dollars. I think this one guy that highlighted was $59,000. You know, he said it didn't make a difference on his utility bill. I mean, but it was only $35 to begin with. So I mean, there's a lot to that. But the company went out of business, and now he's in trouble. You know, along with many others. So there's a big push for this, as you see all the time, solar, and there are a lot of reasons to take a big breath about that. I'm uncomfortable right now knowing what our responsibility is to share the good news, but when they do talk to us, we identify some of these potential pitfalls and the reality of the cost difference and the 100 years it would take in order to offset with some of this, because our friend, the mayor in Norris, has a house that he's got solar panels on, and I think he did that as an experiment within his business, and I don't believe that he would recommend that to anyone. So for the time for solar, it's probably coming, but I don't know that it's right now. But it is worth looking at. WATE had it this past Monday. I have been invited by the county mayor, Mayor Frank, to the county commission Monday to give a presentation that's highlighting CUB's achievements in reliable service, low rates, and the contributions both residential and industrial and economic development. So I put together what I consider a world-class PowerPoint presentation, which is probably no surprise to anybody in this room, and we will wear them out come Monday at 6 o'clock. And I think it's a great opportunity to espouse what we're doing, and as suggested by the board, I'm going to be less sensitive to how that impacts other local utilities. They're just going to have to answer for themselves as to why they can't provide some of the great things that we're doing, and I just can't help with that. So that'll happen Monday, and it's a core presentation, and we've spun off of that. I've already talked to Zach about potentially bringing this to the city council because I think it's worth seeing. I'll be glad to run through this in this board if they're ever interested. And by bringing Greg Jones in, he said, well, I've learned a lot even from this, and that is now we're looking at potentially training within the employees of CUB, because we know it, but they don't necessarily know the depth and breadth of what we're doing, and we like that for everyone. So it's a positive exercise, and I wanted to share that with you, and that'll be Monday. Now, the last thing I have is and I'm gonna turn over to Greg, if you don't care, because it's a very impressive statistic that we've just got. Go ahead, Fran.
We had our sanitary survey on our water system with TDEC, Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. They came in with several individuals and look at every component of our water system, records, mapping,
Testing.
testing, exactly. The lab at the water plant, I mean, every aspect of it. They go out and physically inspect the water plant, the lab, the distribution system, the tanks, and the booster stations, every component of it. And within that, there's a ranking that you can get a maximum of 599 points. And we achieved a 598. Wow. Out of the 599.
You know what they gigged us on? It's the runoff valve, the pipe, up at Westwood. Right there by Peggy's house, and the paint was chipped off of that. So we're gonna
We're fixing that.
go up there and repaint the chipping coming off the valve.
Just
Wow,
That's great.
that's wonderful.
That's great.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
All right, if there's nothing else to come before this board, I will
Can I
adjourn.
ask one question?
Yes.
Is the big orange T we're gonna paint on the water tank gonna be squared out, or is it gonna be a power T?
You know, that's depending on what the Aspire Foundation is ready to do. There is going to be something on top of that thing that starts with a T. It's called To It, right? And I think it's going to be in a circle, and the idea is if you fly overhead, you get around to it, you know.
That'd be a wonderful place for a big T, big power T running around that water tank.
Do you know?
That's what Joe wants.
No.